To record now. So ja, potrzeba zapisati. Okay, so yeah, so Ina, whenever you're ready, please, what's the word? The floor is yours, okay?
Okay. Could you please tell me, can you see my presentation right now?
Yes, effective methods to learn Ukrainian to help refugees.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. So, привіт. My name is Ina Sopranchuk, and I'm a Ukrainian language teacher, writer, and blogger. I was born and raised in Kherson region, the southern Ukraine. Although most people tended to speak Russian or Surzhyk, it's a mixed sociolect of Ukrainian Russian languages there. I always consider Ukrainian as my native and favorite tongue. I have been teaching Ukrainian language as the second language for more than 6 years now. I founded my online school Speak Ukrainian in March 2020. I created a textbook, courses, flashcards, and more than 500 video lessons on my YouTube channel and Instagram. Me and my team of teachers taught more than 350 students from 27 nations. So we can see the screenshots of my school, also my YouTube channel. There are more than 64,000 subscribers on it. You can see this, my textbook, Master Ukrainian Cases, flashcards. So I will...
Sorry to interrupt. I think we're still looking at your title screen.
So I changed the screen, but it's
right. We're still on your title screen, effective methods to learn Ukrainian.
Okay, I just changed the... And right now, no?
Now we see my school speak Ukrainian.
Okay, okay, it's strange, yeah, because it didn't work. Okay, so you can see the second slide of my presentation, and here you can see the screenshots from my website, my school, my YouTube channel, the products that we have, textbooks and flashcards that help our students to learn Ukrainian language. And I want to tell you that before February 24, the interest in Ukrainian language was not considerable. It was so difficult to popularize the language through different social media and educational platforms. Sometimes I got feedbacks from YouTube viewers that it would be more essential to make video lessons about Russian language. Some bloggers and polyglots didn't want to collaborate with me because they believed Ukrainian was needed only among foreigners who had relatives from the Western Ukraine. I couldn't reach any organizations who would be interested in sharing my mission and helping to grow the Ukrainian language, culture, and history worldwide. Okay, can you see the next screen about some statistics?
We're still looking at the second slide.
Wow, I don't know when I just change it, you can see it. Okay, just give me a moment. And when I just change it like this,
statistics, we see that.
Okay, so I will change it like this. Okay, so to my big surprise, everything crucially changed in the beginning of the full-scale war. The first 2 weeks, I was in big shock. My friends, their families, and I hid in the basement from shelling. My brain was totally concentrated on survival. At the beginning of March, I realized that my social media started to grow rapidly. I started to receive many messages from my new audience about their desire to learn Ukrainian. So you can see I collected for you some statistics. So since the start of the war in Ukraine, the number of people studying Ukrainian Duolingo has increased 577% globally. So currently, there are more than 722,000 learners. And you can see how many English speakers they learn Ukrainian language right now. And also you can see some statistics from Poland. You can read it from the screen. So it's very interesting that unfortunately, when we had the war, many people started to learn Ukrainian language to get more about our nation, about our culture. So thanks to the war. Okay, So, who were our students before the war? So in our school, students were ranging from 10 to 65 years old. Who were they? Expats, heritage learners, people with Ukrainian family members, tourists who loved Ukrainian culture, businessmen who had business partners or companies in Ukraine, foreign students, volunteers, participants of Peace Corps, etc., polyglots. And who added to our students? So currently we have more students, and among them are veterans or active militaries who were eager to join Ukrainian army, volunteers from various organizations who stood for Ukraine, people who helped to collect humanitarian aid for Ukraine, hosts for Ukrainian refugees, workers of World Central Kitchens facility who fed refugees, medical workers, etc. The demand in Ukrainian language fast and effective raised in hundreds of times, and reason of it was the war with Russia. My intensive course from absolute beginner to a confident speaker was very helpful. So let me tell you more about the most effective methods to learn Ukrainian to help refugees. Okay, let me show you the next. You can see the next page right now on my presentation. So learn Ukrainian is a long and difficult journey that includes nasal cases, declensions, conjugations of the verbs, perfective and imperfective aspects. It sounds like a big challenge, but let me navigate you through the easiest path. First of all, you have to start with learning Cyrillic. And the Ukrainian language uses the Cyrillic script. Some letters look the same as the Latin ones, some are completely different. Therefore, at the beginning, it is very important to focus on mastering the alphabet. You can learn it with the help of the alphabet song, handmade flashcards, repetition technique. By the way, I created an alphabet song. You can check it out. You can sing the alphabet together with me. It helps a lot to learn and memorize Ukrainian letters. Also, then when you master the Ukrainian alphabet, you can learn basic words and phrases. So you can see some of them. And I want to tell you guys, good news, Ukrainian language is melodic and easy on the ear. The words are pronounced exactly as they look. The most common expressions will help you to make basic conversation with natives. Such expressions are привіт, it means hi, ласкаво просимо, welcome, будь ласка, please, так, ні, yes, no, до побачення, goodbye, бувай, bye, вибачте, excuse me, як справи, how are you, ви розмовляєте англійською, do you speak English, and я не розумію, I don't understand. Okay, so when you learn the alphabet, when you learn the basic Ukrainian phrases, then you can expand your vocabulary with the help of the cognates. So you can see that there are a lot of Ukrainian words that have their counterparts in English. For example, telephone, it's obvious, it means telephone, computer, computer, metro, metro, airport, airport, notebook, notebook, business, business, lampa, lamp, humor, humor, sandwich, sandwich, film, film. So we have a lot of words that are borrowed from English, and when you can see these words are written in Ukrainian, you can easily memorize them, you can easily recognize them. There are many adapted Latin words in Ukrainian. You need to gain approximately 300, 400 words to attain a solid beginner level in Ukrainian, and then you can learn terms related to your occupation, for example, medical or military terms, or phrases for communication with the refugees. I have already recorded video lessons with this useful vocabulary. Okay, let's continue, guys. So then, of course, you need to learn some grammar. And I highly recommend you to practice grammar in use. As you may know, Ukrainian grammar is built on the system of cases. It is a complicated and long topic. Once you master it, you will have a solid base in Ukrainian. I recommend you to learn the most common usages and endings of the cases and practice using them in the sentences. And keep in mind that the word order of Ukrainian sentence is flexible and you can change them as you like. The most essential is to use the correct grammar form. For example, you can say "Я люблю Київ навесні," and this is the straight word order. I like Kyiv in spring, but in Ukrainian language you can say Київ я люблю навесні. Kyiv I like in spring. Or you can say навесні я люблю Київ. In spring I like Kyiv. Люблю я Київ навесні. Like I Kyiv in spring. Люблю навесні я Київ. Like in spring I Kyiv. So you can see that in Ukrainian language doesn't matter the word order, but it matters to use the correct grammar forms. So you can see "я" is the subject, this is the nominative case, люблю is the predicate, Kyiv is the object in the accusative case. So, so when you build the sentences, you can practice also the cases. And then you can practice to make the negative sentences from the affirmative ones. Like you can say "Я не люблю Києва навесні." So when we have negative sentences, we have to use the genitive case. So I know this is the most difficult case, but you can just practice building sentences. They can be an affirmative ones, and then you can make the negative ones. And at the same time, you just practice the cases, and you can highlight them with the different colors. Okay, let's continue. Also, I highly recommend you to immerse yourself in Ukrainian language. Immersion is the fastest way to learn any language. You can easily do it at home. First of all, set your devices in Ukrainian. Second of all, use Ukrainian keyboard for practicing typing. Third of all, use authentic media. Watch movies, listen to music, etc. The most crucial is to find a native speaker to interact with. Currently, millions of Ukrainians fled from their homes because of the horrible war. You can find real language partners among Ukrainians. They will help you with Ukrainian, and you, in your turn, will help them with English. Also, I would like to share with you some tips that may lead you to the fastest results toward the fluency in Ukrainian language. So you can see the tips on the next screen. So what can I tell you? The first one is consistency. Taking some breaks after the holidays or the weekend is okay, but don't take it as a norm. And the habit of not learning. Learning language is a constant process. Remember about it. I advise you to make learning the language an everyday commitment, at least 5 days a week. So I'm sure you can find 10-15 minutes during the breaks to learn some new Ukrainian words. And if you take a commitment to learn 10 words per day, so in a month you can learn a bunch of new vocabulary, yes? So the next one is patience. You shouldn't have to force yourself to learn Ukrainian language in a month, 3 months, or so on. Don't put any time frames. Instead of you should have patience. If you learn the language in 6 months, then don't practice or do it at all, you will start forgetting. So if you want to get really good results in the language, you must have patience. Just keep practicing, to rush yourself. So, and the most important is to make little progress every day to get results in the long term. So the next step is time management. Learning the language should be a fun and exciting journey for you, and not something that causes you stress and anxiety. And you have to keep your goal in mind when you're preparing your study schedule and determining what topics you need to focus on within the time period. An effective time management technique is to divide the whole learning process into short intervals. For example, 25 minutes of practice and divide with the breaks of 3-5 minutes each. The next step is to review. It is important to review the materials from time to time. Here are 3 ways how you can do that. Create a handwritten word list. It is a very old but effective practice. I learned English with the help of it. I prepare a handwritten words list based on the topics and the dialects. Read and review while reading, circling words you don't know. Pull a line to the side of the page and write the translation over there. And of course, listen to the audio files and dialects in English. And my next tip and the last one is motivating environment. At the beginning of the journey to the beautiful Ukrainian language, surround yourself with the things that motivate you a lot. For example, it can be a photo of your Ukrainian family or friends. Ukrainian flag, your favorite Ukrainian city or view, etc. Imagine yourself how very soon you will be able to impress a significant one by making an order in Ukrainian language in a cozy Lviv cafe, or give people compliments in Kiev, or get acquainted with new friends in Odessa. So, and also I would like to tell you about the resources that I recommend to use. So, to learn the Ukrainian alphabet, I highly recommend you to check out my alphabet song. I will share all the links here in the message box. Also, I have the free course. It is called Learn to Introduce Yourself in Ukrainian in Only 3 Days. Also, I highly recommend you a textbook by Anna Hoyko. It is called Ukrainian Phrases for Helping Refugees. It has a lot of very useful words and expressions. If you struggle with the cases, check out my textbook, Master Ukrainian Cases. Also, I recorded video lessons about 70. I recorded 3 video lessons, and they're called 25 Common Ukrainian Phrases. So if you check them out, you will learn 75 common Ukrainian expressions. Also, I have some also video lessons that will help you to communicate with the Ukrainian refugees, with the Ukrainian kids who are refugees. Also, I will send all the links about the medical and military terms. You can use Ukrainian flashcards. And about the Ukrainian resources, there was a question today, and I have a document where I collected 150 free Ukrainian online resources that you can use to practice Ukrainian language. I give the link to the Ukrainian online dictionaries, to the Ukrainian websites where you can watch films, TV series, TV shows with subtitles, without subtitles in Ukrainian language. And also, if you're looking for the good textbooks, I highly recommend a textbook, Beginner's Ukrainian by Yuri Shevchuk, because there are a lot of Ukrainian textbooks, and it is impossible to find the only one, like very good, but this is a very good one, which like a complete course for beginners. And guys, I want to tell you that Ukrainian language is one of the most beautiful and harmonious languages in the world. It is a very special one. It is the language of the powerful and brave nation. For many centuries, Russia tried to wipe it out of existence. Even in the 21st century, we have to fight for our freedom, democracy, and culture. As you know, language is an identification of each country. The mission of my school, Speak Ukrainian, is to save and extend my beautiful language. You can support Ukraine by learning and spreading its language, by helping Ukrainian refugees, and win the war together. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your attention. Slava Ukraini.
Thank you very much, Ina. Are there questions in the chat here in Lancaster or in the chat? Right. Well, there's one. First question is from Yuri Azubelov, and the question is, where are resources for speakers of Russian who wish to learn Ukrainian, I guess?
Unfortunately, I don't have this kind of resources, because I teach Ukrainian language as the second one. So I teach it for foreigners. I don't teach Ukrainian language for Russian-speaking Ukrainians. It's completely different methods. So I'm not a Ukrainian linguist. I'm a Ukrainian and English linguist who teach foreigners. So it's a completely different methods of teaching. It's completely different techniques that you have to use. So I teach people from the whole world, and I teach Ukrainian in English.
Okay, so I see another hand up in the chat from Alexandra.
Okay, Ina, thank you very much for your thoughts about Ukrainian and how to study Ukrainian. I know your book about the cases, and there are different thoughts about the order how to study Ukrainian cases. Can you recommend your own order?
Thank you for your question. It is a very good one. So I usually start with the nominative case, then because nominative case is the basic case, and with the help of it we learn and we can distinguish the singular plural forms of the nouns. Also we can distinguish the gender, and then we learn the vocative case, because then you can use it when you greet people. You say там Привіт, Оксано, як справи, Олено. So then it makes sense to learn the vocative case. Then we learn with my students the genitive case, then accusative case. Then we learn locative case, instrumental case, and dative case. So we follow this order as in my textbook.
And what about people who don't know case?
In the interest of time, I think we will have to move on now. Sorry to cut this discussion short, but if we could thank Ina again for a very interesting sort of talk. Again, in the breaks afterwards, you're very welcome to continue the conversation in the chat or in the breaks afterwards. Okay, so
yes.
So moving on to the next speaker is Marta Melnik, who is many things, not just an expert in languages, but also an expert in IT. And Marta is also a teacher of languages, including Ukrainian. And today she's going to be talking about learning Ukrainian as a Ukrainian. So whenever you're ready, please start.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Marta, as you already know. Can you see the screen?
We can see learning Ukrainian as a Ukrainian.
Perfect. Yes. So hi, yes, I like languages. I'm a polyglot, and Ukrainian language is my favorite language. It's my native language. And yes, I work in IT and I do a lot of things, as you mentioned. Today I want to say a little bit of things why I, as a native speaker, have to learn Ukrainian. Like what inspired me and what did I learn from that experience. So first of all, I wanted to mention a few words about historical aspect, which was like the crucial one, the final one, which inspired me to learn Ukrainian. So we already heard the word linguocide. Yes, because Ukrainian language, as you may know, it's an old language. It was a state language in Kievan Rus, so you can imagine how old it is. But for the last 400 years, it has been banned for over 130 times. There were attempts to ban it, to suppress it, to make it less, to make it vanish. But all the time there were people who found power in themselves to fight for the language, to keep it alive. So I call them heroes of Ukrainian language. And they fought for Ukrainian language, and they succeeded. So we still have, we still speak our language, and yes, and this is like a huge heroism from their side. But the most recent history was during the Soviet time, when the government tried to make Ukrainian more similar to Russian. What they did, they took the words in Ukrainian and they looked for the synonyms. For example, let's say the fourth synonym or the fifth synonym was more similar to Russian than the original word. So they moved it to the front, like the main word. And very often, if you compare dictionaries from 100 years ago, like 1920s, and dictionaries from 1940s or 70s, you will see the difference in vocabulary. So this is one of the things that disturbs me so much. I have a few examples. Let's say the word жмуток became пучок, здобуток виручка, кошик корзина, суходіл континент. So we had our own word for continent, yes, and it was like internationalized. And one more thing I wanted to highlight here that when I say the word puchok or vyruchka, even though they're not originally the first choice in Ukrainian language, I still try to say the sound ch correctly, because there was also russification of phonetics that the sound ch or sh was very soft. So in most cases you will hear people saying puchok, vyruchka. Yeah, so this is wrong, and this is also one of the things that I'm trying to pay attention to and to make it more natural in my way of speaking. So vocabulary suffered the most, but there was also grammar. The grammar that had got some changes. For example, the suffix of adjectives "ny" was often changed into "ovy." So we didn't have предметный, but предметовый, позаклассный became позаклассовый, машинный, машиновый, миллионный, миллионовый. So this is also one of the things that I try to pay attention to right now, and to go back to the original language. And this applies very good to my mission. So it's similar to Ina's mission, but I'm not very so dedicated as you are. When I started participating in polyglot events, I understood that, okay, that will be my mission. I want to popularize, to promote Ukrainian language. So since 2015, I did, like, in general, 9 hours of Ukrainian language, so like 9 academic hours, so 45 minutes, but still I did a lot of workshops, lessons. I always talk to people about language. I show them how beautiful it is. I showed them some words, some interesting facts about history, about grammar, and everything what can be attractive. And also, I always say that one of the reasons why you should learn Ukrainian, because Ukrainians are nice people. So in this case, I think I'm usually nice. So it's not very much effort for me to be nice to people. I try to encourage learning Ukrainian. Yes, and I measure success of my mission. I always say, even if one person will go out from my workshops and will be inspired to learn Ukrainian further, I will find it as a success. Or even if a few people will remember some basic phrases they learned, I will be also very happy. And usually I always, even though I say, like, set this bar very low, I always criticize myself. Oh no, I could encourage people more. But then from time to time, I see like some old messages or some old memories on Facebook that someone wrote 5 years ago. Oh, I was inspired by Marta to learn Ukrainian. And not all of those people, continue learning Ukrainian, but they started. Maybe I should have come back to them like a year later or something and say, are you still learning Ukrainian, or should I be nice to you again? I don't know. So maybe this is my mistake. But still, I pursue this mission by doing some other things. So as I mentioned, workshops during the Polyglot Gathering. Also, after the full invasion, we started weekend lessons for also my polyglot friends, because yes, these are most of the foreigners that I know. And we did some lessons. My friend Olena, she was very good. She helped a lot with grammar, with cultural aspect, with music, with everything. I helped a lot with learning phrases and all the basics to help refugees. So we did a great job. I also participated in creation of language course, Ukrainian in 90 days for Polish-speaking students. And this was also one of the reasons for me to start learning Ukrainian, because students ask such questions that I know that this is right, but I don't always know how to explain. So it was all very tricky. And one more thing, I do a translation of the book from English into Ukrainian. It's going to be a bilingual book, so people who speak English will be able to learn Ukrainian from that book. So this is also one of my little contributions into promotion of Ukrainian language. How do I learn Ukrainian? As like, what do I do but to learn my native language? Maybe not to learn, to improve. So I have a tutor, and we have regular lessons, like once, twice a week. and we discuss a lot of things. We discuss grammar, words, we check some dictionaries, we read different articles, websites, we look for better ways to say some phrases. It's very interactive, very funny. I also participated in a marathon, a 30 days marathon for Ukrainians. And also someone asked about people who speak Russian. It is a good place because there were many people who were switching from Russian into Ukrainian. So they took part in this marathon, and I'm sure they improved very much. I wasn't like 100% the main audience, like goal audience for that marathon, but it still was very useful for me, and I took some useful things out of it. What I learned from all of this experience. So obviously, more words, more grammar, correct grammar, pronunciation, but there are also like deeper things. So first of all, I became more thoughtful. So I think twice before I say something in Ukrainian. I am obsessed now with exchanging phrases into one word. Let's say instead of saying незважаючи на те, що, I like saying попри те, що. Попри щось. Yeah, so I like to simplify it because I think this is a great feature of the language. If you make it, if you can use one word instead of a phrase, it means the language is more rich. Yes, because you don't have to use a few words to describe one feature. I became more curious, so I have a lot of tabs in my browser when I have some websites with grammar, with some explanations, with dictionaries. So I'm curious. I try to explore by myself, especially when I do translations or when I respond to the questions of my students. And I'm more proud because I always loved Ukrainian language. It was always the best for me. But now I see that it is even more rich than I expected. It's more powerful than I expected. So every time when I speak Ukrainian, I feel like more joy with every single word. So importance of Ukrainian language, especially for Ukrainians. So there's also mentioned this phrase, I think Tatiana mentioned it. Нації вмирають не від інфаркту, спочатку їм відбирають мову. So yes, language, if you take language from the nation, it's the first step to its death. So I think that it's very important for survival of the nation. I don't believe in this utopian idea that 100% of Ukrainians, of all of us, can suddenly start speaking Ukrainian, starting to speak perfect Ukrainian. But I always have hope in the next generations that they have a chance to do this. Also, self-identification of Ukrainian. This is actually what I observed from the other people from the marathon, that many of them said that they need to learn Ukrainian to self-identify as a Ukrainian. So I think if like hundreds something people say this, I think this is a very important point. And also if you learn it in the group, it's kind of a psychotherapy, because then you are not afraid so much. You're not afraid to make mistakes because everyone makes mistakes, yes, and everyone is very supportive about correcting, about helping. So this is like a group therapy, so it's amazing. And also there was one crucial thing that a lot of people mentioned was self-respect. So I think that this point doesn't need a lot of explanation. And how to do this? So in order to save a language, in this case Ukrainian, it's necessary to speak, to think, and to read it. So how we can do this? Showing that language is a part of the culture, but culture is also a part of the language. So we already heard about music, literature. Ukrainian literature is so interesting. Like about a year ago, I started to reread Ukrainian literature from school, from my youth, and I enjoy it so much, like from the new perspective. And it's just something unbelievable, because I did not expect, as a child, maybe I didn't appreciate the literature as much as I do now. Also avoid borrowed words, because it's not always only Russian words that influence Ukrainian, but there were also other countries. And now it's like a very huge influence of English language, all of those words, and not only for objects like notebook, but also for describing some abstract things. So this is also a little bit dangerous. So to avoid borrowed words, because there are so many opportunities to use Ukrainian words instead of those. To be an example, so this is what I try to be, to show people that there's nothing to be ashamed of, to learn to improve your native language, to overcome arrogance. So if you would ask me like 6 months ago, where is the best place in Ukraine to go and to learn Ukrainian? I would say Ternopil, my native city, because everyone speaks Ukrainian. But as much as I learn Ukrainian myself and I meet some people of my city, I hear all of those things that they say wrong, and now I wouldn't be so quick in answering this question. So to overcome this arrogance that I come from Ukrainian-speaking city, so I know better. Yes, to inspire youth, what I mentioned before, that the next generation is our hope, and to keep going despite all of the reactions of other people, because I had different reactions on me saying because oh, it doesn't sound natural, or what is the difference, or whatever. So I had different situations and different comments on me learning Ukrainian, and people were making fun of me, but I just tried to keep going, and I think that's the most important thing. So thank you for your attention, and I hope that you understand why it is important from my perspective and from my experience. Thank you. Дякую.
Okay, many thanks, Marta. We have time for one or maybe two quick questions. Anyone have a question in the chat or here in Lancaster? Yes,
Hello, thank you for your talk. I really enjoyed it. I'm an absolute beginner in Ukrainian, so what top tips for me to speak proper Ukrainian then?
When you learn Ukrainian, you have to be ready that Ukrainian is a very rich language, so there are many synonyms, and you also should be ready for this and not be afraid of this challenge. And you just have to start speaking. So I think this is the most crucial part, just to start speaking, to practicing it, and obviously getting inspired of the people who speak proper and right language.
we have one. Just a statement for that lady. Oh, do you want to share?
What I was going to say was, one of the things from the beginning to help you with is get a wooden Scrabble board in Ukrainian, and then you can play games and spell the games, spell the words. I mean, sorry.
Yes, Scrabble is a good way, yes, to learn words. Yeah.
What final, very quick question?
Mm-hmm. Hey, hi Marta. Here's Sevika Mervin. Thank you very much. Here's a let's see, when is there another marathon?
Can you repeat again?
When will the new marathon take place?
I think it started 10 days ago, so it starts every 30 days. It starts over, so it lasts for 30 days. So approximately, sometimes they make a delay of 2-3 days. Yes, so I think the next one should be around the middle of August.
Right. So right. Well, we'll in the interest of time, we'll move on to the next speaker. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know there are more questions. You can keep writing them in the chat, or if there are any questions later, I'm happy to relay them to Marta after the conference. Дуже дякую за дуже цікаві презентації, як завжди. And the next speaker will be Martin Hassmann from Praha, and he will be talking to us about his very interesting initiative combining technology and linguistics in an app. So whenever you're ready, Martin, please fire away.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Привет. My name is Martin Hassman, and I am founder of the project MOVAP. MOVAP is a Czech project, open source project that is helping Ukrainian refugees. Why MOVAP? We were looking for some easy name for Ukrainian people to understand, and MOVA means language in Ukrainian, so MOVAP means language app, language application. Goals of MOVAP. Now there are about 400,000 Ukrainian refugees in the Czech Republic, and we wanted to help them. There is big language barrier, and so we focus on that. Language barrier always has two sides, so we focus on help Ukrainians understand Czech people, but also to help Czech people understand Ukrainians. It was a long run from the start of the march. We started as the free volunteers, and we were growing up to 25 volunteers. Some of them are IT experts, some are language experts, some are Czech people, some Ukrainian, some Slovak or Russian. Anyone who wanted to help is welcomed. And recently we have expanded to the new countries with also Ukrainian refugees, to the Slovak and to the Polish. We are still not too much used in these countries, so if you can spread the word in Slovak Republic or in Poland, you are welcomed. Okay, what are our key values? I believe this is important just to discuss when you want to help. Our first value is focus on people. We are not company. We are not making perfect software. Software for us is not a goal. It's only tool to help people. So we wanted to release software as fast as possible. There still may be some mistakes. It may be not perfect, but if it's good enough, if it can help people, we will release it and we will improve it later. It's not like in the company, when in the business, you need to make perfect. Now we wanted to help as quickly as possible, as much as possible. Important is availability. Of course, we are making everything free, bezkosztowno, but also we need to think about the users, because we realize that many Ukrainian refugees do not have big computers. They have only small mobile phones. So from the beginning, we needed to test that our website work on those small or even old mobile phones. Soon we realized that many refugees have really problems accessing the internet. So we started developing mobile applications that can be used offline. Ukrainians can go to the public libraries, where is internet for free. There they can download applications, and there later can use application without the internet. So next thing is extensibility. We are not only open source, but every content, every Ukrainian Czech content, now we have over 1,000 phrases, is publicly available with Creative Commons license. It's similar license like have Wikipedia. And this is very important because, you know, language learning is also very big business. And even now, when people or institutions are trying to help Ukrainians, they often still think in a business way, and probably this is not the best way. So, for example, we have some language school that released some textbooks to learn Czech for Ukrainian people. These textbooks were for free, but very often there were some barriers how to use it. Some textbook you can only download after registering on the Czech websites. Or this is even for public institution. Our Czech Public TV and Czech Public Radio. Both are making the programs for Ukrainians to learn Czech, but they are not making it like publicly shareable. You can use it only in the Czech TV or only in the radio. You cannot modify it. And even the TV and the radio that do not cooperate, then they make it like small competition. So this is all the things that they do not make it for the purpose. This is just the business thinking. So what we do is like to make everything available, shareable. We prefer cooperation. So what is the MOVAP? How looks MOVAP? Now you can see parts of the MOVAP. One part is learning alphabet because Ukrainian alphabet is different from the Czech alphabet. So you see all the letters, you can hear the sounds, you have the example words. The biggest part is the dictionary. Now we have over 1,000 phrases. There is always a transcription to the second alphabet, and there is always audio. This is very important because Czech and Ukrainian are similar languages when you hear them, but very different when you read them. So from the beginning, like our big bonus was that we use audio for people that have problem to read. There is also export. I told you everything is Creative Commons. You can complete the content, download to your computer, and you can import it to your learning app, for example, and use it as you want. We are expanding this dictionary to be useful. So, for example, many Ukrainians now are looking for a job. So we have big sections with the phrases how to look for a job. This is not common in normal dictionaries. Or now many children, Ukrainian children started going to the Czech schools or Czech kindergartens. So we make a section in school or in kindergarten with dialogues between the parents and teachers, or between the teachers and children. And this is useful not only for Ukrainians, but also for the Czech teacher, because sometimes they are stressed how to communicate with the Ukrainians. Another part is part for the children, because there are a lot of Ukrainian children now. So we make some pictures, speaking pictures, we make some memory games. Often even the adults use this, but of course this is okay. And new edition is bilingual reader. Now we prepared 6 fairy tales, 3 typical Ukrainian fairy tales and 3 traditional Czech fairy tales. For everyone, we have Czech text, Ukrainian text, Czech audio, and Ukrainian audio. And here you can choose which audio you want to listen, and you even read exactly where is the audio, and you can compare it for the text. And later we want to expand with more text. And here are our mobile application for iPhone and mostly for Android, because most of the Ukrainians have Android. And these applications are almost the same like the website. Okay, so this was what we have, and now what are our plans for the future. One is possible expansion to another countries with Ukrainian refugees. If you are from those countries, if you want to join us and make a similar application for your country, you are welcome to join us. We wanted to add some learning tools, because now we have dictionary and games, but if you want to really learn and repeat applications, you probably export them to some learning applications. So we want to make part of MOVAP some exercises and learning tools. And the last goal is universality, that maybe in the future our tools can be used not only for Ukrainian language, but for any language that is necessary. Okay, now I'm coming to the end. Here are links to MOVA where you can check what I told you, our social networks, contact, and even QR code for this presentation. And here is the links for the source code. Everything that we made is publicly available, even those recordings. And if you want to help us, you are welcome to help us. Thank you very much for attention.
Thank you very much, Martin, and congratulations on this initiative. Which is really impressive, and it's great that you're in your app you're focusing to the needs of Ukrainians. Are there questions for Martin? Right. Well, you can write a question in the chat if you like. Let me ask you just as a question. What do Ukrainians find difficult when learning Czech, in your experience? Okay.
Yes, there are many similar words that have different content. We say false friends, and this can be very confusing. For example, you can mix fruits and vegetables, because in Ukrainian, ovoci means vegetable, but in Czech, ovoce mean fruits. And also the name of the months. We have květen in the Czech Republic is May, but in Ukrainian, květeň is April. So you can speak about the different month, and this can be many confusion. And there is maybe over 100 of these words that you think that you understand next people, but you really not. So we have also special section in MOVAP, like very careful for these false friends.
Yes, yeah, I could do with that, really. Okay, well, in that case, if there are no more questions, thank you very much, Martin, and congratulations. And we will move on to our next speaker, who is Ruth Darby.
Hello, I don't know if you can see me yet.
Well, we can only see EOS webcam utility.
Oh, okay. Let me I didn't think this was working, so I turned that off and I thought the laptop. How about now?
Now we can see your face.
Okay, lovely, lovely. Dziękuję for having me. I want to talk about what I'm doing. Ja, Ruth, I've been learning Ukrainian for 120 dni, 120 days. And moja wymова pochana, moja gramatyka pochana. So first thing to say is probacz mnie, будь ласка. Сьогодні я хочу поговорити to talk about English speakers in schools learning Ukrainian language. I think it's really important, but the persha problema is, of course, that English teachers don't know Ukrainian. So, ja napisав booklet. This was my first response in February. So it's a booklet with phrases for teachers dla szkoli. Phrases like дуже приємно бачити тебе and хочеш більше, phrases for primary school children primarily. So це твій партнер. And that's a free phrase book. Практичні фрази для шкіл. I don't speak, I've only just started learning Ukrainian, so I had great help from an online teacher, Alexandra. Ale є інші проблеми. Мати розмовник це не знати мову. So My znajemy, we know, що вчителі не мають часу. Teachers have no time, but teachers like to learn. So I'm making videos with my friend Oksana, who's hiding, making videos so teachers can learn when they have a short amount of time in registration, razom zі studentami, together with their children, with their students. So the first lesson is reasons to learn Ukrainian, and I think it's important to think about this as English speakers. Why do we want children in schools to learn Ukrainian? Well, first of all, we can be tourists when when peace returns, and to make friends. It makes such a difference to reach out to people with a little bit of their language. I тому, що ми можемо. We can do it because we can, like Bob the Builder says. Now, we're English speakers and anglomовні. I love that, anglomовні. We say, я не можу, I can't. So I think, я думаю, it's good to start with such words as chocolate, школа, ta fantastica. And that's, you know, so following on from Inna, so we can use those borrowed words, like Inna suggests, as an entry point to show people that Ukrainian's not completely foreign, that it is accessible. And then we can move on from there, as Marta says, to the more pure Ukrainian words. Now, again, like Inna says, Duolingo, first of all, on Duolingo, there are lots and lots of those borrowed words and cognates. It helps. And of course, Duolingo is popular, popularny, and it's accessible. So if teachers like learning together with the students, then children can take the Ukrainsky do domu. I love that, home, do domu. A їхні батьки can begin learning with Duolingo, with YouTube, with all the wonderful resources that people are sharing today, with Google Перекладач, everything. So it's important to talk to schools, the szkołami. On the 4th of July, I talked to my local school. They've 1,500 students, and the teachers learned 7 words, simsliv. And they got information about online uroki, online lessons that they can just put in, learn with the students. There are printouts. I've had a positive response, pozytywny wypowiedź. The geography department said velika podziaka. The maths department, dziękujemy za video, resursy. The headmaster, vid zawucha, headmaster, it was great to see skilki personalu were using ukraińską mowę. And my favorite from the IT fakultetu, they said, a teacher from that department said, many duże, I really like using the lessons in my registration class. So that's great because we're starting to get Ukrainian into the schools. Це гарна новина. It's good news. Teachers and students are learning українською мову in England. Ukraińska mowa mocnieje, is getting stronger. And nasza drużba staje mocniejszą. So our friendships are getting stronger. And our lives get a little bit bільшим, a little bit bigger. Dziękuję za uwagę.
Дуже дякую, Ruth. Мені дуже сподобалася за твоя презентація.
Будь ласка.
Маєте питання? Do you have questions?
I suppose I might have a question to the other guests.
Okay.
I'm trying to promote learning Ukrainian in schools, and I wonder if any of the other guests would be able to promote their wonderful resources in schools too. I think when children are enthusiastic about it, it can spread to the whole community. So that would be my request and my question, if anybody could or would like to do that.
While the audience is pondering your question, I think we have a question.
Добрий вечір. Дуже гарна мова. Дякую вам. Розумієте, що я кажу? Thank you very much. I'm saying thank you so much. Lovely.
English is easier for me.
Really beautiful. Really enjoyed listening to this. Where can we find this? You said it's called. Де можна отримати цей розмовник для української мови?
Oh, well, this little booklet is on Amazon. It's called Ukrainian One Day at a Time. I was selling it to raise money for the Disasters Emergency Committee, but I'm not sure that really it's as high a quality as I would want it to be. So,
do you mind to hold it to the screen so I can take a shot?
Yeah, of course. It's free this weekend on Kindle, and I will put a link for anybody who wants the phrasebook. That's just online. I can put a link for just the phrasebook part.
It's a good start. Thank you so much for that.
As a PDF, yeah.
And also, did you mention YouTube as well? Did you mention there is some lessons on YouTube?
Yes, so lessons that teachers can use on YouTube. I can share my YouTube channel with you here. So if I put that in the chat here. Whoops. Oh. I will put that in the chat as soon as I can get my IT skills sorted out.
Okay, so you had a question. Okay. I'm just going to be delivering you Ukrainian lesson. All right, so you're going to teach Ukrainian to a sixth form. Oh yeah, great. So yes, good. This gentleman will be teaching Ukrainian and using your book, Ruth.
Oh, wonderful. That is great news. That is great news. I think it's so important for English speakers not to just let Ukrainian people do all the language learning work. Apart from anything else, it's great fun learning a language, and we should have some of that fun. But also, it is hard work, and we should do some of the work.
I think it's very important because culturally it breaks down barriers, your book, and it will be something the students can put in their own school bag, and it will be very positive for them.
So are there we have time because it's for one very quick final question. So if you're not presenting, could you turn off your mic? Could you turn off your camera, please?
Should I turn my camera off now?
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, in that case, thank you very much, Ruth. I also, what you said, I think that if you want people to learn your language, you should learn their language as well. So yeah, of course, we want British people want Ukrainians to learn English. You're quite right. I think we should give set a good example and learn Ukrainian as well. Right. In that case, thank you to all the speakers of this session. We will start again at 1920 British time, when we'll have some couple of guys who are really good at Ukrainian, and I'm sure will inspire us. So until then, I will leave the chat open. So chat Залишу чат відкритий, ви можете балакати, якщо ви хочете. I will cut the recording now. I'll start the recording again at 19:20.